Assalamu alaikum. We'll be beginning at 7 on the dot, inshallah. So just 1 or 2 minutes, please. Thank you. If everyone could take their seats so we can get the program started. And if IT could start streaming the program. Assalamu alaikum. We will begin today's program with a recitation of the Holy Quran by Brother Salahuddin Karim. Salawat.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rahat Hussain, and I'm happy to welcome you to the event tonight, Recent Changes in Immigration Policy and International Travel. This event tonight is hosted by both the Idara-e-Jaferia and the Shia Muslim Foundation. And tonight's event is not necessarily a political event. It's not, designed to criticize or oppose one party or another or any particular changes. But it's to let everyone here know, and those watching online, about changes in policy. What has happened in the last 100 days or so that have had an impact on the Muslim community? What rights do you have? What responsibilities do you have? And how should you behave when you engage in travel, whether you are a U.S. citizen or not? and how you can navigate this process. Tonight we have an excellent array of speakers. We have Brother Muhammad Ali Sayed from Offit Kerman Law Firm. He is a practicing attorney for many years with special expertise in immigration law. We have Farouk Mitha, who has for many years served in the federal government under the Obama, Trump, and Biden administrations in different capacities, and now has moved on to the private sector. We have another speaker, Abid Ayoub, from the ADC, Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee, who his flight has been delayed. If he can join us, he will. If not, then we'll save it for next time. But I think this is an excellent program, very timely program. I think everyone in the community has been asking the same few questions. Can I leave the country? What should I do if I return from the country from international travel? What if I am not a U.S. citizen, I'm a green card holder or a visa holder? What do I do if there's the case of a person who is undocumented? What are my rights with my cell phone at the border? If they ask for my phone, do I have to give it to them? What should I do about that when I travel? I have to do mandatory travel. I have to do voluntary travel. These are all questions I think every single member of the community, in one version or another, they have these questions. And tonight we're hoping to get a better understanding of recent developments in immigration changes, policy changes, changes in visa types and travel regulations, and how these are particularly impacting not just Americans in general, but the American Muslim community. And a lot of us are focused on the changes in the last 2 or 3 months, but immigration law is changing all the time. And there have been changes in policies over the last several years that I think many of our community are not familiar with. The rules are quite confusing. We've all been impacted by them in one way or another. Even if we're not traveling, we know of Shia scholars who are trying to enter the United States, and they're having difficulties. Now, right here we have 3 lawyers, and I'm sure all of you are expecting to get easy and simple and clear answers. But when you have 3 lawyers in a room, you should expect 5 different opinions. But that's normal. That's good. Everyone has a different type of expertise. Everyone has a different type of experience, and it's up to you to see which advice applies most to your personal circumstances. We're going to begin the program tonight with a talk from Farouk Mitha, then we'll move on to Brother Muhammad Ali Sayed. I'll have some comments interspersed. And then after the general talk, we're going to have kind of a moderated question and answer session where I'm sure many of you will have questions pertaining to your own circumstances or not. I would recommend that if you have a question, please phrase it neutrally. Do not say, this is my immigration status. Do not say, this applies to me, et cetera, et cetera. Say, I have a question about this in this scenario. Don't use your names. Don't do any of that. And it's not about being afraid. It's just about being practical. You should take practical steps to protect your privacy at all times. So with that, we're going to begin with our first talk from Brother Farouk Mitha. Salawat.
Sorry, I'm not good with mics. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It's great to be here with all of you back at Idara, and I think it's a really great effort by both the Masjid and the Shia Muslim Foundation to put this event on, because there is a lot happening right now, and I felt like, I just came out of serving 4 years in the Biden administration, and I felt like for a few years I didn't have to watch the news every day, and now I'm back to having to watch the news every day. So it's been a pretty interesting few months. And I'll just start by saying that I'm not an immigration expert by any means. I'm going to defer to my brother here for the really tough questions, but I do want to do a little bit of a scene setting of kind of where we are from my perspective as a country and what our role as Muslim Americans should be. I'm also the co-founder of an organization called Engage, which many of you have probably heard of. It's one of the largest Muslim civic engagement organizations, and we have Adam Abulta, if you can raise your hand, in the back who's here from our Mgage DMV chapter. Thanks, Adam, for being here. And I think we have another person who should be here shortly as well. One of the things that I've championed for the last 20 years or so since I was in college was Muslim civic engagement and the idea that we have to be involved in the political process all the time. And that means when things are easy, we have to be involved. But it also, they're not really easy for us as Muslims ever, but generally they've been easier. And when things are difficult, like they are today, we also need to be involved. What's happening right now is really affecting everybody in this country, whether it's the immigration and travel issues. A lot of people in this area, as you all know, are federal workers, are federal contractors. So there's a lot of concerns there around cuts and things like that. There's tariffs. A lot of business owners in our communities, or all communities, are worried about what that means for the economy, what that means for their businesses, what it means for prices, what it means for inflation. And there's other things that are happening as well that have really big impacts. And because you're in this area, you probably follow these things closer than most. But even cuts to research dollars to our universities, cuts to basic research, cuts to places like NIH and HHS and CDC and other agencies. All the decisions that are being made by our government today have downstream effects that we feel today, but also that we'll feel years and years from now. Because if we're not, for example, investing in basic research on science and technology the way we have been doing so traditionally, what happens to our innovation as a country? What happens to our ability to cure the next major disease or whatever it is that may come 5 or 10 years from now? One interesting example of that is COVID. That COVID vaccine is based on, as you all know, mRNA technology that was built or developed by Moderna and Pfizer. But a lot of people don't know that Moderna originally got a grant from the Department of Defense, where I worked, from DARPA, back in 2012 to do the earliest research on mRNA vaccine technologies. And who knows, maybe at that time nobody had any idea what that would mean. But fast forward 8 years later, and all of a sudden we need that technology to solve a global pandemic, right? So there's a lot of things happening that we don't really even know what the outcomes of that will be. And that's why it's so important for us to be involved with our government, with our political system, every single chance that we get, and to be proactive about it. This happens every 4 years. There's a change in administration, or maybe it stays on for another 4 years, but this is the way the system works. There's a government that comes in and they get to call a lot of the shots, right? And now you see with the change from the last administration to this one, what that means and what some of those decisions have been and some of the downstream effects of those. And we're also seeing interesting crises, I would say, that we haven't seen before, where you have the executive branch and you have the judiciary at odds. And in the normal circumstance, we would know how that would play out. The judiciary interprets the laws and says X, Y, and Z is not constitutional, and the executive branch says great, and we move on and changes are made to adopt. But what we're seeing now is a tension where the executive branch is saying, actually, you're wrong, or you might be wrong, or maybe there's overreach. And I'm not sure if you saw the news today, and I don't know all the details about it, but there was a judge that got arrested today in Wisconsin, right? So we're living in a time where things are changing by the day. There's different decisions that are coming out by the day. And it's really, really important that as Muslim Americans that we think about what this means for the future of not just our community, but what it means for the future of the country that many of us, or our parents, immigrated to because we thought that it stood for something. And if that something that America stands for starts to dilute, then what does that mean for the future of our kids? I've got a 3-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, and I know others, I see young kids here, and I see, we have to really think about these things long term, but we can't do that if we're on the sidelines. And if we see something that we think is broken, or if we see something that we think needs to be fixed, or if we see something that we think goes against the ethos of what we came to this country for, we have an obligation and a duty to get involved, to vote, to show up at meetings, at town halls, and make sure that the people who we elect every couple of years to represent us know what those impacts are and what it means to us. Because if they don't know that, and if we don't have a voice, we just get lost in the shuffle, right? And I'll tell you, as somebody who's been involved, as Rahat said, in not just federal government service, but in campaigns that involve our communities since 2016, and founding MGAGE even before that in 2008, our communities have come a really, really long way. We have a lot more work to do, but we are at the table in a way that we haven't been historically. And I'll give you a couple of examples, and if you don't mind. You know, when I worked on Barack Obama's campaign as a volunteer in 2008, myself and Keith Ellison, who many of you all know, and one of our other co-founders of MGAGE, flew to Chicago, and we went to go meet with the leadership of the Obama campaign at the time, and we had one ask. Can anybody think about what that ask might have been? Just any guesses? Well, I'll tell you, our ask was, when there are Muslim women in hijab standing behind, because you know, at a rally for a presidential campaign, there's all these people standing behind the candidate, right? And the ask was, when there's Muslim women in hijab standing behind, at that time, Senator Obama, please don't remove them, because that's what was happening. The campaign leadership was like, well, we don't want the people to think that Obama is a Muslim, so if we see Muslim women specifically, let's move them and put them somewhere else. And there was a lot of stories at the time around that. That was our ask. I mean, imagine what a basic ask that was, right? And then we asked for appointments. Can you help bring people from our community into the administration if you win? And you know what we were told? Give us 3 names and we'll pick one. That was the answer that we got. Give us 3 names and we'll pick one. Maybe it was 4. It was like 3 or 4, we'll pick one. Now, over time, when Obama won, there was a lot of people that ended up serving in his administration from the community. But at that early stage, before the election, it was like, we'll pick one person. I mean, that's, to me, when I look back at that now, it's really unacceptable, right? But that was what we were dealing with at the time. And you fast forward to 2020, I served at that time on Joe Biden's campaign as his senior Muslim advisor. We had, between 2020 and 2024, well over 200 Muslim Americans that were appointed. And from the earliest days, I worked at the Pentagon, and I started close to day one. I started like February of 2021. And we did this Zoom call, because we were still in the middle of COVID. We did a Zoom call with all of the appointees that were starting at DOD on day one. There was about 80 or so people. Out of those 80 people, can anybody guess how many people out of those 80 were Muslim? Just a thought, random guess. 3, anybody else? Close to, it was about 9. So we moved to that place, right? Then we have others that are in the civil service, like Rahat and many, many others who are in our civil service that are working every day. So there's been a lot of progress made, and the bottom line, in my view, is that people are policy. If we want to change policy, if you want to be a part of the system, we have to have our people embedded in the system, at the table, in the decision-making spaces. And over the long arc, and we have these ups and downs, but in the long arc, we want to see that continue to go up. So I guess my main message, I know I said a lot, but I didn't say anything about immigration. But my main message is that, you know, there's a lot of good work that's been done, a lot more that needs to be done. Look, I have a lot of questions too that I'm hoping to learn about. I'm going overseas in July, and I'm like, should I take my phone? Should I not take my phone? I'm in all these WhatsApp groups where people are saying crazy things that I have no control over, right? So what do I do, right? So hopefully we'll get some clarity around that. But Rahat, I'll turn it back over to you, and happy to take questions and be a part of the conversation, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Sure.
Probably there's been significant discussion over a directive issued by the Shia Muslim Foundation in March. I'll just read a part of it to you. On March 18th, we issued a statement that said, effective immediately, the Shia Muslim Foundation strongly advises that all Shia Muslim U.S. lawful permanent residents, green card holders, avoid all international travel until further notice. Recent alarming developments indicate that green card holders traveling abroad are facing detainment, deportation, and re-entry denials over the United States. Upon returning to the United States, documented policy changes include detainment, deportation, university student visas being revoked, and policy changes that have resulted in increased risk for travel. The travel advisory and recommendations were: number one, do not travel, cancel or postpone any international travel plans immediately. Number two, stay informed, follow all alerts and monitor official U.S. immigration updates. Number three, seek legal advice. If international travel is unavoidable, consult an immigration attorney immediately. Now, probably most of you have heard of these kind of warnings, not only from Shia Muslim Foundation, but from other attorneys. Some of you might have thought, this is a significant overreach. I know many people who have traveled outside of the U.S., who have returned to the U.S., they're visa holders, they're green card holders, etc., and they have not had issues. And the reality is that probably 8 out of 10 people will not face any issues, whether they're Shia Muslim or otherwise. They're going to be able to travel and come back and not have issues. But those 2 out of 10 cases, those people who do have problems, are going to face such significant scrutiny and problems that for now the Shia Muslim Foundation stands with that recommendation for green card holders to avoid travel. But that is not an overarching, it's not a rule, it's a recommendation. And different attorneys will have different opinions, different recommendations, including Muhammad Ali Sayed here, who might have different viewpoints on this. And I just wanted to mention again, it's normal and it's good for different attorneys and different organizations to have different recommendations based upon what they're seeing and what they're hearing. And each of you should take that into account when you're making your own decisions. Brother Muhammad Ali Sayed has been a part of our community in many different ways for decades. And he was just telling me before the program that he's the nephew of Hilmi Rizvi uncle, who many of us recognize. Hilmi Rizvi uncle designed the Idara-e-Jaferia. He was the architect who designed the building. So we owed him forever a great debt of gratitude, and may Allah bless him always in the hereafter. Please welcome Brother Muhammad Ali Sayed with a loud salawat to the podium.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Brother Rahat, and for that kind introduction. I'm really honored to be here. And yes, the association with the Idara goes back to my teenage years when I grew up in Pakistan. My khala and mamu had moved to the Maryland area like before my family did, and Hilmi Khalu and his wife Farida Rizvi, Dr. Farida Rizvi, they have been part of the Idara for many years before, and so it has been really nice to see the community flourish and grow, and then now to be invited here as an attorney to share some of my knowledge with you. It's a great honor. Just a few things, right? So I am an immigration lawyer. I work at a law firm called Offit Kerman, where I'm based in our Washington, D.C. area. We do, it's a full service law firm. We do work in the corporate and litigation, business transactions, family law, intellectual property. There's a wide range of legal areas that we practice in, all pretty much in many offices on the East Coast and also the West Coast. My primary area of practice is in the employment, business, investment, and family side of immigration law. Okay, so most of my clients are businesses that are sponsoring employees, business owners who are investing in the U.S., families that are sponsoring brothers or sisters or spouses or parents for immigration. I've been a lawyer. I finished from George Washington in 2000, so I've been practicing for about 25 or so years. And some of what we are seeing now in the present administration in the last couple of months, we've seen it in other flavors in the past, right? So some of it is not the first time that we're experiencing some of these things, but it's just right now happening in a very significant way, and the rate at which people are being detained, deported, and facing trouble coming into the borders is the rates of incidents has just gone up a lot, right? So there are definitely problems, and I don't want to set a doom and gloom kind of scenario. I want to give you some, just highlight some of the problems, and Brother Rahat has sent me a list of questions as well. I can go through those and leave with some solutions. I think overall, yes, I think, being an American Muslim these days, we are easy targets because of the global events and some of our, views on the unfortunate, the genocide that's happening in Gaza right now, which I think any decent human being would oppose and object to what's going on there. So, but that makes us easy targets, right? So, a lot of the questions that, with the new administration, we've seen categories of people being sort of targeted, right? So, and the immigration apparatus is, it just turns out that for the current president, as he tried in the first administration, again in the second administration, he's using the same kinds of tools to target people who are, foreigners, or, it just seems like it's like this part of the government, they enjoy pushing around the people that are foreign, and then we saw in the last administration there was specifically bans from certain Muslim majority countries. So, so there's some precedent, and general best practices. I'll describe some of them. I think I would overall agree that in the next 2 to 3 months, I would recommend, just if there's non-essential travel, then please hold off, right? So if you can avoid traveling, not because anyone here is like specifically has any problems with their personal profiles, but just generally the tone of some of the immigration, customs and border protection officers, the kinds of questions that are being asked, and the sort of invasiveness of some of the interviews that I'm hearing. I'm just tell clients generally that, okay, if you can avoid traveling, avoid. If you must travel, like people have to go for work, people have to go for family reasons, or ziyarat, or then there are certain precautions that I recommend. And it sort of varies because you have 3 categories, right? So you have the US citizens, you have the green card holders, and then you have folks that are on non-immigrant visas, or foreign visitors who are traveling in just for short stays. So in all of those categories are being impacted. I think the basic advice I would say is that there's just generally the mandate of every customs and border protection officer. The basic mandate is misrepresentation, just honesty, right? Being saying the truth, reporting truthfully about what your reasons for travel are, what your identity is. And so they're entitled to ask you questions to verify that, okay, you are who they see on the document. And if you're, and they're entitled to do like a security screening, so they can ask questions about past travel history, any criminal involvement, etc. So one has to be just, be honest. But here's where the sort of lawyer advice comes in, is that if you're carrying a lot of data with you, or if you're giving long answers, if you're sharing too many stories, you open the door to being contradicted, you open the door to be asking follow-up questions, right? So not because of, I'm sure all of us are on chat groups where we are, there's so much traffic sometimes that we're not even really following each and every little message we get or a video that's shared. But I've have clients who was like coming into the US on let's say a visa, and tourist visa, coming to visit, and they were stopped at the border. They were asked to share their cell phone, and then on a WhatsApp chat message, this gentleman had a video of somebody who the government doesn't like. It was some controversial figure around the Middle East situation, and it was a short video clip of some Maulana that had certain views about certain things. And my client he honestly, he hadn't even opened the video to see it, but they ended up scrolling the kinds of searches are two searches, right? So one would be a basic search where there's just a quick look through the cell phone contents. They may just manually look at the cell phone and ask questions like, who is this contact, who's that contact? But then a more invasive search is a full secondary search where they are connecting cell phones or laptops to a actual device, right? So they'll connect it to like a mainframe computer, get all the data, run some AI searches, and they can scan for content. So in this gentleman's case, they found this video. They said, oh, what is this video? The guy, he had been traveling for ziyarat and had a lot of travel to Iraq and Iran, and when he came in, and a very decent Sharif guy, like, just the salt of the earth, and like really nice guy. But in his interview, he started talking a lot about his faith and how his faith requires this or that, and he just went a little bit too far. I feel that he could have kept his answers shorter and just yes, no, but he was turned around and deported. Like they said, sorry, who sent you this video? Oh, he's my cousin. Oh, okay, your cousin sent you this. And they made him, they typed up a whole statement of the interaction with him, and they had him sign it. And so he was referred to me by another client, said, this guy's been deported, now what can we do to get him back? Because they have significant business interests in the US. So there's a whole procedure, like if there's a, such an event, there's an application for re-entry, you have to go through a lot of background screening, and it can take time. But my advice to this guy was that, look, there's this, one of my bosses used to say that, a fishing analogy, like a fish wouldn't get caught if it doesn't open its mouth, right? So I'm not saying that you should like tell lies, but be careful about what you're sharing, right? Now, the three categories of people that I identified, so visa holders, green card holders, and citizens, right? So they have certain different due process rights. US citizens can absolutely refuse to hand over their cell phones. Now, if you say, I'm not gonna give you my cell phone, they may confiscate it anyway, okay? They have that right. If that happens, they'll take your cell phone and they'll hold it, they'll give you a chit, they'll say that this is your property that they took, and they'll give you a receipt, what iPhone, Android, whatever. And then they'll return it to you in a couple of weeks or months, and they can do some searches on it. And but rather than kind of take that extreme position, do you have a question? Sure.
How about we just travel with a new telephone, brand new, with nothing in it?
So practically, that is what I'm advising people. Like, because in the current environment, the less data you have on your phone, and again, this should be, even if the question comes up that you're traveling with a brand new phone, I think it's a fair answer to say that, hey, I spoke to an attorney and I use my normal phone. It has a lot of work data, personal data, things that are, I don't want to lose, or they are, I consider these information confidential. So I consulted with my attorney, and my attorney said, yeah, I just keep a phone only for emergencies. So yes, I'm carrying like what you call a burner phone. Right? And you can be very plain and straightforward about it, that, yes, because of concerns, I'm not comfortable carrying my normal phone, so my attorney told me just carry a phone for emergencies. And you shouldn't appear as if you're trying to hide something, that you have something on the phone that's sort of risky, that you're intentionally trying to hide. You can say, no, you can ask me whatever questions you want, I'll answer honestly, but I didn't see the need to carry like my normal work laptop or my normal phone. I would definitely, in all of these, like a one-on-one individualized conversation with an attorney is advisable. And right, we have, many in our community who are immigration lawyers, many very, capable civil rights and other professionals. There are a lot of non-profit organizations that are running trainings. I'm also part of other groups where we're doing workshops, trainings, etc. There's a few flyers that, if Brother Rahat can send around, you guys can share. Happy to share my email with you, and we can. There are certain longer presentations that talk about best practices around cell phones and devices, etc. But the bottom line is, try to minimize the data that you're carrying with you, right? And if you are so the US citizens, they the only mandate that the border officer has is to verify that you are who it says in your passport, okay? So a valid passport, citizenship proof, and that's it. They're supposed to let you in. They cannot not let you in, right? They may keep your cell phone. They may, ask questions and try to be brief and to the point and short. Green card holders, they have, we've seen some being deported. I will say that when I said the 2 to 3 months time frame, and please just let me know about time, okay? If we're I am afraid of running over. I want to leave time for Q&A. The screen for green card holders is going to be, the traditional screen is that, okay, you haven't abandoned your residence, so you have not like stayed outside for more than 6 months. If you have stayed outside for more than 6 months, then they may allege that you have abandoned your green card status. So I advise, no matter what the circumstance, if the border officer offers you the option that, oh, sorry, there's some problem, we are going to deport you, and we're going to put you into a deportation hearing, and we're going to take you in front of a judge, and that's going to be a hassle, and it will be unpleasant. So why don't you voluntarily give up your green card, and we'll let you in for one trip, but we'll take away your green card, and next time you come, you get a visa and come back. So please do not sign any such paper, because they may make it sound like kind of, scary that they're going to put you in custody or put you in detention. But at that point, you will be entitled to a lawyer, and it won't be like you will be in custody in jail. Like they will have to set a hearing, and only an immigration judge has the authority to take away your green card, right? So if you have family members traveling, please advise them that if they are, I know sometimes it's very hard because they're coming after a long flight and they're tired and exhausted, and they may be very nervous and scared. They say, what is this janjat? I want to get out of this, so they'll sign a paper. So don't do that. I think I said the 2 to 3 months because I feel that 2 to 3 months is the time that it will take for some of these lawsuits to go up to the Supreme Court. And Farooq Bhai also mentioned this, that the executive and the judiciary, right? So in this type of situation, the judiciary has been very helpful. So there have already been cases where the rights of the individuals against the government excesses have been upheld, right? So we had a case where the Supreme Court, which is actually, they have more Republicans on that right now than Democrats, but there have been a few cases that have gone up that have come out in favor of the immigrants or the visa holders. So the issue of the excesses at the border with the green card holders, visa holders, what due process they are given, there are cases pending that we will have some more clarity in 2 to 3 months, where I feel that it will turn a little bit more in terms of pro-consumer, right? So now the category, so with the green card holders, right, you're gonna be things that you can do proactively. Like if there's somebody who has some fear that, for some reason I'm afraid that I'm going to be deported, or there's some legitimate concern, and even for visa holders that are traveling, like family members, friends, what we do is we often give them an attorney, we call it a pocket letter. It's just a short letter on the law firm letterhead that says that, this traveler is my client, and I have consulted with this client, and this is whatever status they're coming in. They're a green card holder, they're employed here, or they're a visa holder, they're a student, they're a doctor, whatever. Lay out a little bit of their background and provide a little bit of legitimacy that, hey, we represent this person and please let them travel. If there's any complication at the border, please contact the law firm, and we give our name and address. And so in a difficult interview situation, if it appears that the officer is being completely unreasonable and they're going to deny entry, or they're leading towards a detention situation, so I always advise you hand over this letter to them, because you're creating the first written confirmation that you have asserted your due process rights. You have not waived any of your rights. And that helps the attorneys later on at later stages. Like if someone has to then represent a client in court, then they'll say that, look, from the very first interaction, my client had their legal rights written and given to the officer. So practically, that's one piece of advice that I give people, like if they have some concerns, to come into, reach out to an attorney by phone, by email, have a letter with you on your person And then we do have in the, like the most common consult that I've had recently is that people will call that, hey, my uncle is coming on a flight tomorrow. Can you be available if they have any trouble? Can they call you? We always do offer that. We'll give them the same written letter, like they have to have a written authorization that, okay, they've appointed somebody as their attorney to talk. Now, a lot of times they won't let you talk to the attorney, right? Especially the visa holders. Like, so they can say, no, sorry, it's the middle of the night, or like they're coming in on a flight at an odd hour. But I think having that ability to, you can still use your cell phone to reach the attorney. I think keeping the contents of the communication just very objective, stay away from political or religious views, keep things very neutral. Talk about family in the US, or talk about just things that are non-controversial. And if the officer is intentionally trying to take the conversation into a controversial area, you can say, look, this is not relevant, or I talked to an attorney and I'm going to refuse to answer this question. Or you can even say, I want to speak to your supervisor. And you can kind of navigate these difficult travel interview questions in that way. So let me just quickly jump to a few of the questions, right? So, I mean, there's what you can do at the border with your cell phones and laptops, that's important. At the same time, we do have a lot of clients who are coming in without problem, right? So we do have many people who it's business as usual. The people are coming in, families are coming in normally. So this is not something that I want to kind of scare you excessively. Now, I think we covered the green card holders. So just know that the customs officer does not have the authority to take away a green card, right? So they have to put you into a proceeding, and then before the immigration judge, that's when you can go with a lawyer and present your case. Domestic travel for visa holders. As far as I know, there's been no changes. I mean, once you're already in the country and then you're traveling domestically, you would have your foreign passport with the US visa stamp in it, or certain nationalities like Canadians and Europeans, they can travel without visas coming into the US. So that hasn't really changed. There is a requirement starting, I believe, in the first week of May. Airlines will start requiring real ID. Yeah, so I think that will apply more to like US residents, but like foreign nationals who are here for short visits, they can still use their home country passport with the US visa stamp. But it's important to look into the implementation of real ID, and on domestic flights, folks may need to have a real ID after May the 7th. I think, cell phone precautions, so cell phone is kind of technical, so there's a few things. There's the phone's memory, so there's the memory that's on this phone, right? And then there's access to things in the cloud. Okay, so what we're telling people is that try to minimize the memory of your phone. So if you have things that are unnecessary, like old, I have so much in here, I'm an attorney, I have a lot of attorney-client stuff in here, so I've saved things, right? So I have multiple layers of protection. Have two-factor authentication. Try to disable biometric. Okay, because if you present with your phone and your face is your password, so it'll unlock and then they'll have access to everything that's on your phone. Now, if you are allowed, you can refuse to share your password to your phone. You can say that, I have sensitive info, what's the relevance, ask me questions, or I can give you limited access. If you want to ask me something specific, I can unlock it for a short time. And so you can, but you have to do it in a way that doesn't appear like you're defensive or you're trying to hide something, right? But so proactively what you can do is you can delete a lot of information on your phone, not because you're hiding anything, but you just don't want to open the door to things that are all over the place. And the biometric fingerprinting or the Face ID, the reason to disable it is that you'll have control over what you can share. You say, okay, do you need my Facebook password? Okay, fine, here you go. All right, do you need this? Okay, fine. And you can choose, right? You can select what you're sharing. A lot of times for practical reasons, when you have two-factor authentication, you will appear to be cooperating. Oh yeah, fine, I put in my password, but oh, it sent a text to some other number, or it sent an email to some other address that I don't have access to. So you're not trying to be like difficult, but you're just doing your best to protect yourself from invasive, unnecessary, irrelevant searches, right? You can say, okay, why do you want this or that, right? Like, so I think those are practical things that you can do to minimize, because right now, giving open access to your social media can be problematic because I have no control over what a lot of my friends are posting, right? I mean, there's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or all of these social media platforms, and if you just hand over your phone to someone and they just start kind of, they may find something that they don't like, but it's perfectly innocent on your part, right? So those are 2 or 3 ideas. Take off your biometric identification, enable passwords, have difficult passwords. You can be very direct about, you can identify certain things that are personal, confidential, irrelevant to the national security of the U.S. And you can also ask to see a supervisor. So those are some ideas, around the cell phone precautions.
Why don't we move to the question answer session?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we'll, please, if you have questions, please ask.
So we're going to move to the question and answer. I'll read some questions I've received already, and then we'll also take audience questions. One thing I wanted to reiterate, do not mention your personal visa, immigration, or citizenship status. If you have a question, ask it neutrally. What should a person do in this case or that case? Also try to not mention any personally identifying information. You don't have to mention your name. You don't have to mention where you live, this kind of information. And once again, this is not about being scared or frightened, or we can't be safe here. It's just about being practical. It's about protecting your privacy in all circumstances, regardless of whether we're here or somewhere else. We always want to make sure that we act in a very prudent and logical manner. So the brother had a question.
Trump has initially, jokingly, was this gentleman from El Salvador who's called a cool dictator. He has said that it might be a good idea to start deporting natural-born citizens who give him a hard time. I keep up with the news on a daily basis. This is an issue that's being discussed more and more. And Trump has mentioned it 2 or 3 times since that meeting with this gentleman, this president from El Salvador. My question is, from your own opinion, from your own observation of how things are moving, how serious is Trump in trying to develop some policy where natural-born citizens will be legitimate targets for him to deport to El Salvador or wherever he wants to deport them to?
I guess we can all discuss it a little bit. I'm going to answer a different question, but I think it will give the answer that you're looking for. Over the last approximately 90 years, the Supreme Court, 100% of the time, has deferred to the president on immigration matters when the president raises that this is being done for national security purposes. So I don't know what will happen. I don't know what his intentions are. This legal issue hasn't come up specifically before the Supreme Court. I'm just saying every other time the Supreme Court has just agreed with the president, let them do whatever they want, even for immigration purposes, if the president says this is a national security issue. Since roughly 1930, that's been the case.
Yeah, I'll just say that, last year a lot of people were telling me, oh yeah, he's just saying that, he's just saying that, he's just saying that. Well, I think we know he's not just saying it. He starts saying it and then he does what he says he's going to do. So I would think that he's going to try to find a way to do it. That's my opinion. I'll let the lawyer give the legalities.
We're all lawyers.
Or the
Yeah, I mean, I think, what Brother Rahat said in the sense of the deference on immigration and national security issues, right? And we can, I mean, I think what I observe is that they're trying to test the limits of their power, and they're just doing stuff, and then okay, let's see how the courts decide. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised that there will be some at least reach for that kind of power. Now, and we're seeing it, right? So with the case Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia student, Columbia graduate, where the evidence presented was a letter by Marco Rubio that basically just makes a very plain statement of like, hey, this person is against the U.S. national security interest. Now, courts are going to be looking at this, and it's very important that, I mean, if you can deny due process to anyone at all, right? Like, you can start denying it to U.S. citizens, right? I mean, the precedent that will be set in this case will be important because now U.S. citizens will have some higher level of defenses available, like they need to be confronted with what the evidence is that is being used against them, right? We saw a lot of this during like the aftermath of September 11. You had the Patriot Act. You had a lot of controversy about secret evidence. So, I mean, we're lucky that, I mean, the court system has been protecting sort of victims of these kinds of excesses. I think that if they do go in that direction, it won't be easy. Like they will have a lot of legal challenges. If they want to start removing U.S. citizens, they will have to have the evidence to back it up, right? It won't be just Marco Rubio making a blanket statement.
Well, yeah, but I also think about President Obama. He was able to use a drone attack against a U.S. citizen outside of the United States, and
Repeat that, please.
President Obama issued an order issuing a drone strike against an American citizen during his presidency.
Oh, in the Yemen?
It was in the Middle East. I don't recall the details, but it was a huge controversy at the time. How can you do this? It's an American citizen, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get into that, but the reality is that's been happening. That kind of stuff has been happening for not only since the 1930s. The Supreme Court just rubber stamping whatever the president does for national security. It even happened during President Obama's time, and so I think like the other speakers here, I think there is a realistic possibility that he can do this and be successful. We're going to go to a question I received over the phone earlier, and then we'll go to audience. We'll do one-on-one. The question is that President Trump has taken a lot of actions in the last 100 days. We know that presidents are always excited to take their strongest actions in the first 100 days. Is it likely that after these first 100 days, these first few months, that President Trump will loosen or relax his immigration policies and make it easier? What can we expect over the next few years?
I don't know what we can expect tomorrow, so I can't comment on the next few years. But I think if you look back over the past few presidencies, you've seen a continuous expansion of the power of the executive branch. And this has gone now in this administration to the utmost, I would say, limits of it or beyond the limits of it. So I don't think that's going to change, and I don't see things getting any lighter from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Farouk right now. Like, I think that this trend will continue. I feel personally, eventually there will be, the courts will start imposing some real limits. I think we saw recently in the situations with the F student visa holders where there was like a lot of visas revoked, sort of blanket revocations for very minor things like, traffic violations. And universities have started to speak up. We had now, like Harvard took a stand basically to sort of, push back. And I mean, that was not related to student visas, but overall, like there are constituencies that are pushing back and organizing. So some of these excesses will be tempered, but I think it might shift in a different direction, right? And I think they'll keep pushing. I do wonder about, because some of these actions are so knee-jerk and their full repercussions are not thought out. So I think it's just like a trial and error kind of thing. Like they try something and then if there's pushback, just like with the tariffs, like they're on and they're off, and and there's a lot of disruption. So I'm hopeful that maybe keeping in mind the midterms, there may be like some things that people are seeing that this chaos is really it is what it is. It is chaos. It's not like a plan to like help the nation in any way, and so they may start losing seats, and so that fear may temper some of this. I think that is a very smart approach, because I mean, limited to critical, like if it's just like, okay, small family groups, like where you have an immediate practical need. If there are multiple groups where there's content that you're not really even following, just limiting the amount of information that you're associated with and that you are sharing with a government official. So I think limiting the chat groups, especially if you're about to travel, just wipe the phone. Like it's not illegal. Like you're just cleaning it up, and in a way you're making their job easier. Like in the sense that, hey, okay, look, this is what's really relevant. If you want to know who my family members are or what the important things in my life are, just limit it down and take out the extra, data that could be risky, because there could be things in there that you have no connection to.
I would just add on to that. I have three recommendations. Number one, do not take your phone, your regular phone, on international travel. This will be difficult for most people. If you have to take a phone, if it's unavoidable, you have to take your normal phone. When returning from international travel, delete it. Delete WhatsApp, delete Facebook, Instagram, Signal, Telegram, all that. Just delete it. Delete the app. When you do that, make sure, and I'm saying this because there's a case that this actually popped up. Somebody did. They deleted all the apps. There's a Lebanese Shia woman. She didn't delete the images that are downloaded automatically, and she got in trouble because of that. Delete the images that are automatically saved. Delete the videos that are automatically saved. Delete all the apps where you have any concern that something that you have nothing to do with might cause you a problem. Delete those apps. Specifically, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Signal, Telegram. Delete.
If you take a new phone, simply ask you whether the number is different, right? With a new phone, you're going to get a new cell number.
They can ask, and you can just say, on the advice of my attorney or advice of an attorney, I wanted to bring a different phone for international travel to avoid any problems.
But can't you move your number to a new phone and then just move it back to your other phone?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of technical things you can do, but I think the message is clear that make sure there's nothing that would cause suspicion. You don't have anything with you, any app, any data, whatever. And then let's go to a cell phone question, then we'll go to an audience question. We received a question, and I think this is directed at you. What should an undocumented person do in the case of they've been here for a significant period of time, and they want to seek legal status? Do they have any options?
So, that is a sort of category of people right now that are sort of prime targets. So people that are here.
I think it's the table this time.
Okay. So if you, there's a few, within the category of people that are in the U.S. without status, there's two kinds. People that entered without any inspection, so people that crossed over the land border, people who were never inspected by Customs and Border Protection. That's a entry without inspection. Then there are others who arrived on visas in planes, or they came in, they were inspected, but they have fallen out of status because the visa expired, right? So the first category is that they usually have very limited options, right? So they will typically, no, bless you, alhamdulillah, you wouldn't have the option to, let's say, get sponsored through an immediate relative, like a, you know, a spouse or a child that's sponsoring. So those are the people who are the DACA category, right, where these parents came across the border without inspection and they have kids that are born that are US citizens, but those kids can't sponsor their parents because that initial entry was not authorized. Now, we review for immigration claims, so asylum claims. So many, you know, brothers and sisters from Muslim countries, they may have valid asylum claims. So that's one thing that people can do, is that they have entered without inspection, but you are allowed to file an asylum claim. So that's worth exploring. Okay, so now folks that came in legally but then have fallen out of status, they have a little bit more, like they could, you know, have a child, or they could have a spouse that could sponsor them. That's one way that they can get regular status. Now, but generally it's very hard. Like, so I have people that have fallen out of status that let's say they are employed, and the employer is very keen that, hey, Muhammad Ali, we really like this employee, they're really honest, very hardworking, and we will sponsor their visa. It is doable, but then depending on how long they've been in the status, in the US without status, there are waiver procedures. So generally the rule is that if you have between 6 months to 1 year of stay without status, you get a 3-year bar to re-entry, which means that you will have to go outside the country, wait 3 years, and then come back in on that work-sponsored visa, right? Or you apply, there's a procedure for a waiver where you say that, hey, you have really good moral character, you didn't do any, you have ties to, and then the employer kind of puts in all the plus factors, and you can try, like you have to really put yourself at the mercy of the counselor, interviewing officer to grant the waiver. If you have stayed for longer than 1 year out of status, then you have a 10-year bar. So the 10-year that you wait outside 10 years and then come in. So short answer is that the options are very limited. But there is, like, so if you have a valid like asylum claim, there are humanitarian, country-specific humanitarian programs. So any immigration lawyer will review those avenues, but they are limited. Yeah.
So my question is about travel. And as U.S. citizens under the current circumstances going back to India or Pakistan with a valid visa, it's still judgmental. The immigration officers down there can say yes or no and deny entry because the visas between Pakistan and India have been cancelled. Do you recommend that? Can such a case happen, and then when you return to U.S., is there a danger of not allowing entry? It's a complicated case, but it can happen.
So just to kind of rephrase, are you asking that if you are like a US citizen and you travel to India or Pakistan and either the Indian or the Pakistani visa is revoked or something?
No, they deny it for whatever reason.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
their visas, mutual visas have been revoked.
Yeah. So you're saying that having a visa denied and then upon re-entry to the US, that may be suspicious that you have had a visa revoked? I mean, you may get asked, like, have you been revoked a visa, to any country? And you have to be honest and straightforward. Like, so the worst thing that what can be done is to kind of misrepresent anything. So you have to be honest. But as a US citizen, again, like the mandate for the customs officer is only to make sure that you are who it says on that piece of paper, that you are in fact a US citizen, and based on any other kind of fact such as that some other country didn't let you in, that on its own is not a reason to deny you back in. Yeah. Alaikum.
environment right now, thank you, is going to affect our Islamic scholars that are going to come in. We have religious months that are coming up for Muharram, for Fatimiyya. If we have Islamic scholars that are either US citizens, British citizens, Canadians, Australians, but are in Islamic studies right now and they travel internationally, what is the recommendation for them? If they are invited guest speakers at various Shia communities, is there a protection mechanism? What is some of the recommendations or guidelines we need to be aware of? Thank you.
Sure, thanks for the question. Do you all please do weigh in. All right. Okay, great question, and you know, kind of timely, right? I think just generically, I think each individual has a unique profile, right? So I would definitely recommend a individualized consultation, like based on who the inviting organization is and who the individual is, right? So do they have what sort of profile do they have, right? To determine, okay, are there any special risks that we are anticipating? Have they come and gone to the US before? Is this the first time they're coming or not? I think all the general guidelines about hygiene in terms of the social media and electronic devices, etc., those would apply. I think additionally, I mean, bolstering the tie with the US host, right? So the organization in the US that's doing the invitation, just the basic parameters of like, okay, why they're coming here, who is the host, what is their itinerary, their plans, how will their day-to-day itinerary look like, and they're really here for educational or religious purposes, and it's a and there's funding available. They won't be taking on any quote unquote unauthorized employment, so they're not receiving payment for any employment style activities. So that would be and that they have ties to return to their home country. So that's just the basic level screen, right, as an immigration lawyer for anybody to meet the requirements of a temporary visitor, right? Now, because of the current environment and because of the, I mean, our connections to some of the, ongoings in the rest of the world, and I mean, religious scholars and researchers, they may have public views about things. They may have given interviews that the current administration doesn't like, right? So there may be an automatic national security implication that, hey, there's the allegation of anti-Semitism that's being weaponized, right? Like, so you may have participated in protests or anything involving the happenings in Gaza, and that can create an automatic red flag and extra screening. So to anticipate challenges, I would recommend that lawyers be engaged, so that lawyers know of when such a scholars are arriving, and if there's there's really not much that for the visa visitors, like you can't really in anticipation go and file a case saying that you sort of pre-approve their entry, but there are things that we can do if they are denied entry. We can, I mean, I do recommend engaging with the legislative branch, like so senators, congressmen. If there is a letter of invitation, and you can approach the Congress or senator that, hey, we are a US-based organization, we are based in this state, and we are inviting a guest, and we are concerned that their travel might be obstructed. You can in advance carry a letter from the local congressman or senator saying that, hey, look, a constituent in my jurisdiction is sponsoring this, so please facilitate their travel. So I think those are just practical steps that come to mind. Yeah.
I got one quick question.
Sure. Let me finish the answer. One little housekeeping thing. Salat time is about 2 or 3 minutes. Sheikh Jalil is delayed for another 15 minutes approximately. So anyone who wishes to leave to perform prayers, they're free to do so individually. Or if you'd like to wait for Sheikh about 10, 15 more minutes, we can do that and I'll pray as a group. It's up to each individual. Your question about the Shia scholars. I've advised numerous Shia centers and numerous Shia scholars. there's a much bigger issue than I think most people realize. In 2015, the U.S. made a law targeting ISIS. They said ISIS is regularly going to Iraq, ISIS is regularly going to Syria, and there were reports at the time that they're even crossing the border into Iran to take action. So the U.S. Made a law increasing scrutiny of any travelers, anyone at all, who went to these any one of those three locations. Now our Shia scholars, they don't go to one of those locations, they go to all three of those locations. And when the immigration officer asks you, why did you go? They say religious education. And that's a very, beautiful answer for a Shia. But from the perspective of a border officer in charge with security, hearing that a Muslim went to these countries for religious education, it gives a different tone. And so, in fact, working with Engage for the last 3 years, we've been pursuing this. We've had numerous meetings with the White House under the Biden administration about this issue, that, hey, we understand your security concerns, but this is a religious freedom concern for us. Ultimately, we did not get a resolution yet, but at the same time, the fight is not over. Right now, many centers are facing this. This is a huge problem. And really the only practical and realistic advice is to pursue U.S. citizens, scholars, for your main programs. That's the only real guarantee that you will be able to get that speaker.
Any recommendation for fresh immigrant coming here? Because sometimes they interview them on Dubai airport,
Mm-hmm.
and there are a couple of guys from Indian descent, I think. They give hard time to sometimes to the some immigrant.
So I think that one's a little bit, it's depending on the circumstances, you get very different answers, the background and all that. It's a little bit difficult to answer that question.
You know that Elon Musk has gutted out a lot of the federal agencies, firing people. What is the situation with the immigration department? Can you still get a renewal of your passport in a timely fashion, or has there been a slowdown in people trying to renew their passports? To your knowledge.
They have planned cuts to the State Department. They have not necessarily affected most of those cuts yet. So if they do that, there will likely be significant changes in processing times. I think it's scheduled for midsummer time that they want to do those cuts. But every day the news is unpredictable at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Assalamu alaikum. Does global entry help? And if you're traveling in a group when some people have it, other people don't, does that impact anything?
Yeah, generally, I have clients on global entry that, the program works pretty well, but you do have even global entry folks that do get taken to secondary inspection. So it is kind of random. But I think global entry does help. So, I do recommend people that qualify to sign up for that program.
Then we got a cell phone question directed at Farouk here. Are there any organizations that are addressing these immigration challenges and issues and changes in a way that is focused on Muslim rights and being able to assist the Muslim community? Of course, I know the answer is Engage, but maybe you could talk a little bit more about what Engage is doing.
Yeah, there's, I think the beauty of what's happened over the last decade is strengthening of institutions in the Muslim American community. Muslim advocates and CARE and groups like that focus a lot on the civil rights and legal perspectives of things like issues like this that come up. But then you have groups like Mgage and even MPAC that are more on the advocacy side. So with Mgage, we're doing a lot of work on organizing events like this across the country, but with elected officials where people in our communities can voice their concerns very directly to the elected representatives. Our team back here with others are on the Hill in Washington weekly, meeting with members of Congress. Look, we're in a tough spot because you have one party that's pretty much controlling all three branches of government. So until there's another election, it's hard to kind of break through, but we just are continuing to drum beat on this and not lose the momentum of just the advocacy and getting our voices out. I would recommend folks here go to our website, mgageusa.org, and sign up so you get our emails and updates as we put out things and action alerts for people to weigh in on these issues as well.
Let me just add, Engage is one of these organizations that there's not other groups like that. They've been very friendly and receptive to the Shia community. Their founder, sitting next to me, is Shia. And the work that they do is to get into the White House, to bring our people into the White House for meetings, for discussions, to include our community on laws that are impacting us. And our community is where we don't realize that's happening. We think, the conversations we have are, should we vote? Whereas the conversations they are having are, how should we support this particular initiative to benefit our community? So it's a big difference in strategy that it's unmatched in our community, and I don't think many of us are aware of the level of skill, the level of advancement that Engage has had, and especially is bringing not only to the Muslim community, but they're basically dragging the Shia community into these positions, and we should be very thankful for that. My understanding is that Sheikh Jalil has arrived, so we're going to break for Salat. Hopefully some of our speakers can stick around. I'll be around after Salat, and we can engage in these conversations on a more personal level. Assalamu alaikum. Please give a loud salawat for our speakers.
We're not coming back to this setting. We're just going to
Yeah.
बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला Muhammad wal. We're looking for a volunteer to call Adhan. Anybody interested in calling Adhan? Hashmat, can you call Brother Zafar Hassan to call the Adhan? जफ़र आप कितनी अच्छी आवाज़ है तो आप आगे आहा करें भाई
सुब्हानल्लाह वल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह वल्लाहु अकबर वलिल्लाहिल हम्द अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى على محمد أشهد أن عليا ولي الله صلوات الله وسلامه أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله صلاة المغرب أداء واجبا قربة إلى الله يا موسى الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقود. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربي. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله وخير الأسماء الحسنى لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. يا خير المسؤولين ويا خير المعطين وارزقني وارزق عيالي من فضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم بمحمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. الحمد لله وخير الأسماء الحسنى لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم تسبيح فاطمة الزهراء صلوات الله عليها. Brother Ali will recite Taqibat al-Maghrib.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمدا عليه وآله السلام اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب دعوات إنك غافر الذنب والخطايات وإنك على كل شيء قدير بحرمة فاتحة مع صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Brothers and sisters, as you know, tomorrow morning we'll have Salatul Fajr, Nahjul Balagha session at 5:15 in the morning. Then town hall and breakfast would be served during the question and answer session. During afternoon, 2 to 4, town hall meeting for full-time school. Refreshments will be served after the meeting. And 7 to 9, the Idara-e-Jaferia book club meeting. And their dinner would be served in the beginning, 7 to 7:45, and then the program and then Salat. So please attend all these programs. Inshallah, you'll be able to pray all the Salat at Idara, inshallah, tomorrow.
استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى على محمد أشهد أن عليا ولي الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله صلاة العشاء أداء الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقود. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربي. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. وصل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله وخير الأسماء الحسنى لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقود. سبحان الله. سبحان الله. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقود. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. يا خير المسؤولين ويا خير المعطين وارزقني وارزق عيالي من فضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم بمحمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. والحمد لله وخير الأسماء الحسنى لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل وعجل فرجهم. تسبيح فاطمة الزهرا صلوات الله عليها. Qiyam, come here. Brothers and sisters, we have a seafood special dinner tonight. It's a very tasty dinner. Don't leave without having dinner. A lot of effort has been put into this one, so please enjoy. But before we depart, we're going to recite Dua Imam Zaman. Yeah? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه وزكاته وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل. متوجه زيارة.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك وعلى جدك وأبيك. السلام عليك وعلى أمك وأخيك. السلام عليك وعليهم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك وعلى الأئمة التسعة المعصومين من ذريتك وبنيك. السلام عليك وعليهم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمامي وإمام الإنس والجان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وظهورك وسهل الله مخرجك ورحمة الله وبركاته.